Hi Flosstube, Pam here, stitching between the lines, making the final installment of my redo on my video from a week ago Monday. Today's Tuesday, April 4th, and I made a video a little while ago on our Mac desktop, and I don't know how old it is. I'm going to say maybe it's a 7-year-old. I think we got it when my son was still home. But anyway, anyway, I made it, kept it to 15 minutes, and it currently says it needs 25 hours to upload, and every time I look at it, it says a little longer. I don't have that problem on my iPad. It takes just a little while, but less than an hour. So, device? I don't know. I don't know. Someday I'm going to know the answer to things. People are going to have to ask me questions, and I'll know the answers, but currently, not happening. Anyway, I have some things to show that I wanted to show from what I talked about before, but I don't want to be timed out on this one, so I'm going to show it first. Somebody asked, and I had referred to this thing in my last video, this Clover point turner. It's called Clover Press Perfect Point to Point Turner. So it says it all right up there at the top. And in a package like this, I bought mine at a quilt store. I went looking for it. I knew this store would have it because they have tons and tons of accessories and tools and whatnot. I don't know if you can find it at Joann's, but being a Clover product, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, it looks like this. It reminds me of a plastic knife, right? Kind of looks like that. Fits in your hand nice. The corner turner's nice. Curves on something you're turning. It also has this nice little edge that smooths out, beveled, whatever it's called. In quilting, a lot of times you do applique or just things, and they say to finger turn, which means just finger press, which means just to push it with your finger. You don't need to iron it, and so sometimes you need a little tool to do that. At my Quilt Guild meeting last night, we were joking about finger turning and how it doesn't work, that you really need your iron. But I don't know, depending on what you're turning, if you wanted to get a good crease on it, this may well just do it for you. I need the point. We all need the point. No more knitting needles, scissors to shove that thing up there. So anyway, it's a Clover product. I think I paid like $9 for it. I don't know. To me, it was worth it because I poked my scissors through. You know. So anyway. So the other thing I showed the other day that y'all never got to see was I had done some finishing on some old, most of them are old pieces, that I turned into project bags. So the first one is Liberty by Midsummer Night's Design. It's a patriotic. I really like, you know, patriotic kind of colors, patriotic themes. Picked this up at a quilt store somewhere in Florida. And I just actually made it last year when I was on my little kidding up frenzy. I would find, pulling out patterns I wanted to do and seeing what fabric I could find. So this is actually on an Ada. I think it's an 18 count. Yep, Ada. And just, it was fun to whip up. I did not put my initials. My initials are boring and dull, and I just didn't want them on there. Like here they are on this one. So I just picked up some of the stars and duplicated, and there's actually a white star right there. It doesn't show very well. And then I had this fabric in my stash. Now, I'm going to say this. I will be the first person to admit that I can, centering things, if in my mind I say that, if I flip it over and I say it needs to slide a little to the right, I will turn it upside down, you know, when you're stretching something or whatever, and I will stretch it the wrong way. I will pull it the wrong way. I'll adjust it the wrong way, always. So this one is actually correct, right and left. I measured them. They're the same. Bottom, aesthetically, the bottom part maybe could be longer, just to balance it out. The way you make these bags, this was the Style File bag that was a pattern I purchased from a quilt store. So I'm not really going to give you the specifics of it, but you make the back bigger than the front, and you sew half the zipper on the top of the back and half the zipper on the top of the front, and then you wrap the back around and you meet up the bottoms, and it forms this top part, and you sew down the sides across the bottom, back up the side. And what happens is sometimes after you've quilted it, you need to do some adjusting and whatnot, and where you're going to lose some of your, you're going to sacrifice some of your length down here when you need to square it up better, because you've quilted it, you've done things, you've attached a zipper and whatever. It doesn't always come out the same. So anyway, this involves a lining and it involves batting, but this this is my quilting. I call this my go-to quilting. When I need to quilt something like a bag or a purse, and I'm just doing it on my regular domestic sewing machine, I, I just do this, you know, wavy line. My machine has two different wavy lines. One's a little closer together and a little deeper, but it doesn't take anything fancy. Your regular foot will do it. Most machines have something like that, and even if they have, even if you have something, sometimes lengthening or widening the stitch will make it what you look at and see a zigzag maybe, but if you widen it and lengthen the stitch, maybe you get a whole different thing. It's really a good idea to like play around with your stitches, even if you have the most basic machine. I've had this wavy stitch on many of my machines. Many, I would say my last 4 machines over the last 25 years have had this stitch. So it's not anything fancy or new, but it's a nice go-to quilting pattern. I draw a line with a marker, a soluble marker or chalk or whatever, and I draw one, and 2 inches over I do the other, and so on. And then you just watch it go through the machine. Keep your eye on the little guide, and it makes the line. I find if you do straight lines or gridding and your thing comes out a little wonky, sometimes it's exacerbated. It really shows because you then had straight lines on it at one point that tilt or pucker if you do if you cross hatch it, maybe you'll get a pucker. So anyway, that's my go-to quilt pattern on something simple like this. So, and then let me see, I just stitched around a little bit. I put this little flange in, stitch around. It's all very, 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 very basic sewing stuff that you could find online or whatever, but I liked it framed in the blue, even though it's stitched with a blue frame. Fabric is simply out of my stash, lined with the exact same thing, and there it is, a project bag. And then I did another project bag with this handbasket pattern. It says, "Where are we going and why am I in this handbasket again?" Which just cracked me up. I have a friend, let me just say this, because here we're going to blow the cover off of, you know, what you think are all these nice people. Women can be catty. So I have a friend. We maybe will have been at a quilt retreat for a few days, and, you know, you're in close proximity to a lot of people for a lot of time. Sometimes we need to talk about who's in the handbasket, who's in there with them, who's carrying the handbasket, and where they're going because of the things they're saying. So anyway, it really did just crack me up. So it's a Jar Designs, and I just had this piece of orange fabric. Orange is not my favorite color unless it's fall and pumpkins. I don't like orange. But, so I had this piece, which does not explain why I stitched this on here. I had this probably from a million years ago. I was in the Silk Weaver Surprise Me Fabric of the Month, and it's liable to have come from there. It's not anything I would have purchased. And I stitched this with just some matching orange. And I made this bag. Now, this bag is a little bit different. It's the same pattern, this style file. I wanted to try something with box corners. So a box bottom, box corner, whatever. So I made it longer so that I have extra fabric. Well, heck, we're going to pretend that phone is not ringing because nobody's calling me I want to talk to. And it, nope, see, it's a toll-free call. Don't want it. So it fills up a little better. It's tall and thin. I was a little bit of make do with just what fabric I had. Let's see. Inside, and again, I have different fabric in there. It's got a Prairie Schooler pattern in it with some fabric and threads. So I've done, one of these I did as an ornament last year. I think the tree in the truck. I just love, you know, Prairie Schooler. I haven't said that before, right? I haven't expressed my love for Prairie Schooler at this point. So the next thing I did for bags, totally different style. Well, kind of, sort of. It's got an inset of a cross-stitch pattern. This is Hindsight's Laundry Day, Wash Day is what it's called. And it, you know, comes with the charms, and they're just so cute to stitch up. And I did it again on a piece of Aida because I'm just digging through my stuff, whatever. And I really liked the thread color for this was Oak, I think. Oak by Weeks. I like the bit of variation there is, but the charms are all there and stuff. So, and then I had this fabric with clothespins. Not quite enough of it, so I had to frame it in the brown. But here's what this is. this. Whoops. Wrong way. This is one of these bags, these project bags you all recognize, right? Everybody has some. And I was in the quilt store that I go to in Florida. The shop owner was working on one of these, so this is not my invention. I asked her what she was doing. What was that? And she showed me what she was doing. So she had made the bag. Again, it's just, you're sewing on 3 sides. Measure your front and back of your plastic bag. Measure about 1.5 inches more of your fabric for the front, and then the same for the back. Inset some cross stitch. Simple, simple, simple. And here you can just see I widened each side, I lengthened the top and bottom, and then I sewed on these. You don't even have to be that kind of fancy. You could do it like I did this one, where it is the full width of the bag, and I just sewed a piece on the top, or the bottom, and a piece on the top. So then you have some fusible fleece. Fusible fleece is like batting, like you would put inside a quilt, and you can get it at Joann's, and it's fusible, meaning you can iron it and it glues one side. One side's fusible. So you fuse that to the inside, the ugly side, the wrong side of your bag back and bag front. It's picking up fuzz somewhere. Oh, off the other unfinished one that I brought to show you. So you do that ironing, and then you sew it together with maybe about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and now you have a bag that's about a 1/2 inch bigger than the plastic bag you're going to shove in there. You need a little bit of space for your seam allowance to eat up a little bit of, you know, you've got batting on both the front and the back, so it's in the seam allowance. And then you shove, don't iron anymore. When you're done with that bag, don't iron it anymore because when you shove this plastic thing in there, remember, it's plastic, it's going to melt. So you can't iron, you're done ironing now. And then you just take the top and you roll it over so that it meets up with the zipper, and then you whip stitch. See, on the inside you can see my whip stitching. You whip stitch it to that nylon fabric that's around the zipper. You can see my stitches, right? You can see those. But they don't really show in the whole scheme of things. Then I shoved the whole thing under the presser foot on my sewing machine, and I sewed this line. But you really can't do it at the ends very well. You can't get all that bulky, plasticky end of a zippery thing under your... So you can even see where it was becoming a problem, and then I managed to start the other side. Okay, but who's seeing that? This is your project bag. You have projects in it. People want to see either this stitching or your project inside, not the detail on the tippy tip end of your zipper. So that is a fun and really cool way, because I know zippers intimidate people. I've only just gotten maybe a wee bit confident with my zipper making. So this one, I'm hurrying up now. This one is Lizzie Cates. Normal is just a setting on the washer. A number of years ago, she did a contest where she asked people to send in a saying, and then however they were selected, they were voted on. So I stitched it up ages ago, didn't do the white because white never lays very nice. And then my sister gave me for my birthday, maybe last year, a year or so ago, some thread heaven, and it really did work nice on the white. So anyway, that's what that is. Make do fabric, not quite enough at the bottom, but it doesn't really matter. Some more fabric from my stash on the top. And then here's my raw edge, unfinished, ready for me to roll it over. I don't ever pin these things. I can just hold them as I go. Hold it in there, whip stitch it to that zipper. See that? I might not do a seam with the sewing machine because I'm not sure I want to cut off with a line of stitching or line of thread this picture. So there it is. Seriously, you guys can do it. I know you can. If you can sew a straight line, this is nothing more than making like a 3-sided. Cram that plastic thing in there, turn it under, use your needle and thread. Obviously, you know how to use a needle and thread, and whip stitch that in, and you have made a very inexpensive finish project bag with your work on it. So easy. You really, really, really can do that. So anyway, let's see you. I'm challenging you to show me some. I like these. I like making project bags. I'm thinking I'm going to do another one using Vanna's pattern soon with some fabric I really like. I kind of ran out of zippers too, which is why I ended up with this one, doing this with it, because I'm tired of running to Joann's for zippers. So that's it. That's it. No progress, because, I'm only sort of wheedling my way through outlining. See ya. Bye.